Hi, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Are you good to go?
I am good to go.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Editing Academy. I'm Darryl.
I'm Laura.
Laura, what are the movies and what's the year we're here to talk about?
We are here to talk about the Best Picture nominees from 2017 that were released in 2016. We're looking at our first half of the batch, and those are today Arrival, Hell or High Water, La La Land, Lion, and Moonlight.
All right. Other notables released that year. We are firmly in like superhero land at this point. Allegiant, Hail Caesar, Now You See Me 2, Magnificent Seven, the remake, Passengers, The Nice Guys, which is a great movie, so much fun, Split, the M. Night Shyamalan where he brings the movies together, Swiss Army Man, which is a phenomenal indie with Daniel Radcliffe.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's so much fun.
I heard it's good.
Snowden, The Girl on the Train, The Founder, about the founding of McDonald's, Rogue One, Captain America Civil War, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Deadpool, Suicide Squad, The Jungle Book remake, Zootopia, and Finding Dory. So out of all of those, and I will give you a hint, there are some surprises in the top 5.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Captain America.
Number 1, 1.153 billion.
I'm going to go with Batman vs. Superman.
No, did not make the top 5.
Shocking. Okay, the DC never really does as well. Okay, so I'm going to go with Zootopia.
That was number 4 with 1.025 billion.
I'm going to go with Finding Dory.
Was number 3, 1.029 billion.
Rogue One
was number 2, 1.056
All right,
billion.
so there's Deadpool.
No.
No! Oh, shoot.
Deadpool was kind of a slow burn. It was in the top 10 for the year. But
Okay.
surprisingly, Jungle Book.
Okay, I can see that, because usually it is a cartoon or a family favorite that makes a lot of money, but I hadn't thought about that one.
This was one of the first or second of the remakes of all the classic Disneys.
Yeah.
So everybody was really looking forward to it, and I never saw it, but apparently it pulled it off quite well.
And it was a remake, a live-action remake, which
Yes.
is what they're tending to do now.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Wouldn't have gotten that one.
All right. Let's dive in with Arrival, shall we?
Let's do it.
Arrival, directed by Denis Villeneuve, written by Eric Hesserer, based on the 1998 novella Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang. I have read it.
Oh, interesting.
So we can talk about some differences. Stars Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Z Ma, T-Z-I. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I apologize if not. Was nominated for Best Picture, Director, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, Film Editing, Production Design, Sound Editing, and the only thing it won was for Sound Editing, which it kind of did deserve.
Oh, absolutely. So the summary is, linguist Louise Banks leads a team of investigators when gigantic spaceships touch down around the world. As nations teeter on the verge of global war, Banks and her crew must find a way to communicate with the extraterrestrial visitors.
It's accurate, and
Yeah.
actually that's not that bad for the complexity of the movie.
It is, and we'll get into it, but for such a complex movie, it also is fairly simple. So
Yeah.
interesting. So a couple of fun facts. In Star Trek lore,
Okay.
first contact happened in Montana.
Yep.
And this, of course, took place in Montana.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Even though it was filmed in Montreal.
Of course.
Of course it was.
Everything's filmed in Canada.
Yeah. So, and then the other fun fact is, the part where she is talking to the leader of China and basically tells him what his wife said to him and that is what kind of saved us from the brink of war. But there were no subtitles. So unless you speak Mandarin, you didn't know what it was.
Right.
So, and the director wanted that kind of mystery around it, and the screenwriter apparently was like, hell no, I worked really hard on those words, and so told everybody what she said to him, which was, in war there are no winners, only widows.
I like that phrase.
Well, and so did the screenwriter,
Yeah.
and he was really pissed off that nobody actually heard it. So there you go.
All right. I love a good sci-fi movie, well told. This one I think is definitely way above average sci-fi movie, very well told. I like when a movie can play with a premise, and we've talked about this many times, have a clever premise and pull it off.
Yes.
Some of the criticism I see of this movie is people don't buy that the premise was pulled off. I completely disagree. I think the premise of this movie, we'll get to that in just a second, works so incredibly well because as a viewer, you're trying to figure things out just like they are. So it's almost like you're part of the journey of figuring all this out. And I like that when a film invites you to be a participant in the experience rather than just here's a story.
Yeah.
We talked about openings, how much I like a good opening. I do really enjoy this opening. It's kind of an information dump, but it's a necessary one for everything that comes after and the setup and giveaway of everything that happens. So I totally don't mind it. It's well handled. I think it knows that it's doing an information dump, so it tries very hard to do it in the best way possible.
And are you talking about like the very beginning about her and the daughter?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I'll start there and then I have ton to say.
Okay.
Go.
So I also very much like this movie, and I think it did some very interesting and unique things as well. So I again, the language and the communication and having a linguist be kind of in the forefront is something you don't see every day.
Right.
I like the way they did that. I like the way that they built her character. It didn't tell us a ton about her, but we were able to know she's obviously, like well advanced in her field. She's worked with the government before and all of those things. The Jeremy Renner relationship too he is very much a side character, and you don't know, is he going to be an antagonist? And no, he really respects her and kind of lets her take the lead in how that they're communicating. I liked that it didn't spend a lot of time with the two of them, but you did get a little bit of the positive relationship that they had, which I thought was really interesting from the get-go. And it gave you a lot of information, but it also left a lot of it very, very vague.
Yeah.
So I liked that. I also loved the design of the aliens.
Yeah.
And the realism of, like we're used to seeing aliens in movie and people are like, oh, there's a Spielbergian alien. And, he's got the big head and the long legs and that's what he is. This was a very different design and you didn't know if it was friendly or again, antagonistic until you started the relationship with her and the aliens. And a lot of their relationship was freaking out, freezing, throwing up when you first see this, which I think is a very realistic kind of thing that would happen.
Yeah. Okay, so this is obviously, and it happens every video, but this is, major spoilers all along. There have been tons of First Contact movies. What happens are, it can go anything from Independence Day, where it's full out war, to something like Star Trek First Contact, which you mentioned, which is more of an exploration, or something like this, which is kind of all of it. And this seems very realistic, not in every single performance and everything that everybody says, but the actions that are portrayed seem realistic. Yes, you're going to have a government presence that would be very skeptical about what is happening. But I like that the leader of that, Forrest Whitaker's character, is completely open to the idea and doesn't want to go down this path, but knows that he may have to.
Yeah.
And I like that as a presentation rather than having be like one note like in Avatar, we're just gonna kill every native, I also love the way the aliens were handled. We've also seen a lot of movies where they have to develop and understand a language to be able to communicate. And because of the way that they operate, the language that gets built it's a fresh take on language building. Yeah. It's
a visual language.
Exactly right. And that you don't see very often when it comes to that, because it's usually they find a codex to unlock something and it's all written in text. This is 100% visual, which because of the medium you're watching something makes it that much more interesting. And I'll just reiterate again before we give the big reveal that I think the reason all of this works and it's a unique take is because you're invited to understand things as they are happening with the film. You're a participant in this. You're not simply watching.
The other thing that I'll say to the positive of this movie is, we say this usually with biopics of, I like that they had a very small scope, and I would say this in this movie too. We know generally from watching the TV what's happening out in the world, but we are not out in the world. Yep. We are in a small space trying to do a small thing, and they kept saying it over and over again, is all we need is the answer to the question of why are you here?
Right.
So it's again, the scope is very, very, very small of we're just trying to get that question answered. And it's not the whole rest of the world and how everybody is reacting. That's all kind of happening in the background, but we're not living it.
So throughout the movie, you get these, what you think are flashback scenes, or you're not really sure, but they have that flashback feel to them of her with her daughter, and then also her with someone that you don't understand who that other person is. You assume it's a husband, but you never see that person. And what you discover, basically a little over halfway into the movie, is that these are, that she, now like the heptapods, right?
Yes.
7,
Hepta.
hepta?
Yep.
That they experience time not a linear fashion, but they experience it all at once. And that she is now the same. So all of these scenes that you've been seeing, once you understand that, you recognize they are telling the story of her being a mother and the loss of her child and the development of a relationship with Jerry Renner's character, and then the dissolution of that, all through these very small, quick vignettes. And I thought that was handled beautifully.
It was. I will say though, you kind of learned it, and unfortunately, I was spoiled for this movie before I saw it, so I knew that that was going to be a future self that she was seeing. But I don't think you see Jeremy Renner. Why is that name difficult?
I know.
We don't see Jeremy Renner as the man in the shadows until the very, very end.
Correct.
So yes, we see in the middle, and I think we surmise that it must be him.
If you pay attention to the voice, you do hear his voice.
Yes, but you don't actually see it for sure and know that he's there. And also, again, you kind of learn probably 3/4 of the movie that she tells him, I'm guessing that she tells him that she knew this was going to happen, that they were going to have a child, that this child was later going to die of a disease, and she went through this path anyway.
Yes.
And he was upset about that, and that's what broke up their relationship.
She says at one point that all the pain was, I'm totally paraphrasing, but the pain was worth it for the moments of joy or something along those lines,
Right.
which is why, even though because she was experiencing time in a non-linear fashion now, that she did still go through with everything. She did not view it as fatalism.
Yeah.
She believes that she made a choice still in this process.
As Garth Brooks would say, if you don't have the pain, would you still dance the dance? And so, I mean, like, it's a very, he said it better in other words, but it's not just a sci-fi movie. It really does make you think, and it's very thoughtful about, is it worth it for the pain if you know you're going to have? That's the ending.
And we see that kind of concept explored a lot in stories and films. Like, if you have never failed at something and you've been successful your entire life, your first failure can almost break you because you are unfamiliar with what that is. We see that explored. If you never have experienced something, you never know the other side of it, and knowing both makes you a stronger, better, more well-rounded person, or at least I personally believe. So, but also watching that, and then once you have that revelation and you fully understand what you have been being shown, suddenly, to me anyway, the movie takes on a whole nother depth that was not present in the beginning. Because admittedly, you are kind of confused, like, what are these scenes?
Yes.
Why are these relevant? Why does this make sense? But then once the dot is connected for you, the movie itself takes on a deeper dimension. It becomes 3D versus 2D. And I really enjoyed that moment, and I think it was paced out well enough that when you get it, everything that you've gone through is totally worth the voyage.
Yep, nope, I absolutely agree. And I think that not enough can be said about Amy Adams' performance as well, because she's very subtle, she's very sublime, but you see so much on her face. And she was not nominated for Best Actress in this picture, and I think that's a crime. I
agree that so often the things that get nominated are the over-the-top performances, the capital A acting, whereas, some of the best performances you see are the more subdued ones.
Very quiet performance, and so much is seen on her face and not through the dialogue.
Right. I'm 100% with you. I don't like that is the thing that gets recognized the most by the Academy.
Nope, totally agree.
This is Denis. Denis has become one of my favorite film directors of the past 20 years for sure. What he was able to do with the Dune movies, with Blade Runner 49, he's just become he's a visual storyteller, but backs up the visuals incredibly well with concrete solid storytelling itself. And this is him starting in his peak. I mean, I think he did Prisoners right before this one, which is a great movie, but vastly different.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Nope, I am good.
I'd like to move on to Lion, which is
Alright.
a bit jumping around.
Let's do it.
Lion, directed by Garth Davis in his feature directorial debut. Screenplay by Luke Davies, based on the 2013 non-fiction book A Long Way Home by Saru Pierley, the central character, obviously, of this. Stars Dev Patel, Sunny Pawar, Rooney Mara, David Beckham, Nicole Kidman. Although saying that they star in the movie is misleading, because...
Oh, their names got the...
Correct.
Yeah, they're in it fairly. But I will say, when they are in it, I think Nicole Kidman was very effective.
Absolutely. I think they all are. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody's miscast in this movie.
But her name is put there for the marquee value.
Correct.
Yeah.
Was nominated for Best Picture, Supporting Actor for Dev, Supporting Actress for Nicole, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematographer Original Score, and did not win anything. Go with some stuff.
Interesting that Dev Patel was up for supporting actor, not actor.
I support that.
I get it, but I wouldn't have thought that. Okay. So the summary is, a 5-year-old Indian boy is adopted by an Australian couple after getting lost hundreds of kilometers from home. 25 years later, he sets out to find his lost family. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that works.
Sure.
So just a couple, there's a ton of fun facts because it's based on a real story. There's so many different angles you could take. So I just grabbed a couple of them. One of them was Dev Patel's 8-month journey into studying for this role.
Mm-hmm.
So he went and obviously met Saru's family. He spent months at the gym to get himself to look more physically like the role. He went and took the same train trip that Saru took when he got lost. And so he really did a lot he worked with a coach to not only get an Australian accent, but an Australian accent with a Tasmanian dialect.
Yeah, that's true.
So he worked very hard to get into this frame of mind, which I thought was great. And then the other one I just thought was cute was the actor who played Saru. They really wanted him to bond with Nicole Kidman, and I forget who played her husband.
Yep.
And so they put them out on the beach and they were playing cricket. And those scenes that you see in the movie were just them bonding to try to get to know each other, and they thought that they were so sweet that they added them to the movie, which I thought was a great call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay, so this one I'm going to use as kind of a jumping point for some of for the remaining movies. Because
Excellent.
one
Okay.
of the things we talk a lot about is the storytelling overall, how even something you don't care about in any way, shape, or form, if it's well crafted and well told, gets you invested.
Yes.
We've seen that also not happen where you really care about the tale itself, but the handling of that is mishandled in a way so you're being taken out, you're just not as invested. I'm sad to report that I love the story of this,
Yeah.
but I was taken out of it so many times. The choices that were made, the pacing of this movie
Pacing. Yep.
is all off.
So I agree with you, and I have a theory on that.
Please.
And so my theory is, because I agree with you, it's an amazing story, and I sobbed at the end of the real pictures of him and his mothers, and whether that's part of the movie I would quibble with. But so my theory is there's kind of two paths, especially. It's Saru getting lost, and then it's Dev Patel, as an adult Saru, kind of going into his depths of despair and in his own world. There's an emotional journey you take when it's like, okay, so we're telling you the story, and then you become emotionally invested, and then you feel the desperation, and you're on that path with them, and then it goes on so much longer you don't care.
Yes.
And that's what happened to me on both of those. Is I was interested in the story. I was, emotionally invested. I felt their desperation, and then I just wanted to get to the next place.
I am 100% with you. That was
Okay.
going to be one of my complaints, is that each of the segments either is
Yeah.
far too incredibly short. I think the Dev Patel suddenly having these existential issues section was
Yeah.
too short. I wanted more development because it seems to kind of come out of nowhere.
I thought it was too long, but it was because it was the same scene playing over and over again. So maybe if they went into depth.
Yes.
Yeah, like you're saying.
I thought that the getting to, I'm having such a hard time, I can hear my brother screaming for me every
Yes.
day. To get to that moment was too short. The story was too long.
Yes.
And also, we spent far too much time, you're 100% correct, in the beginning. I got it.
Yep.
We were there, and it was too much.
Yes.
Which then the movie suffers from, because particularly a movie like this, the emotional investment that you have in the story and the characters is what makes a movie like this.
Oh, absolutely.
And
This is all about the characters.
100%. And when you're taken out of that, the movie failed.
Yeah.
And I think for the story that it was attempting to tell, it didn't recognize the emotional value that the story had intrinsically and mishandled it.
So I think I agree with you completely, and I think where they did it well, and it shows me the director could have done it, is with his younger brother, showing kind of like his initial integration into the family, how that went well. My dog is snoring. How that went well, and how that went badly rather, and then like a couple of vignettes of him in Saru's life over the course of their life. Just enough to show that there was love, that there was trouble, and there was anger, and there was all of these different feelings, and you got to see them in short little vignettes, and I got it. That was enough for me.
Yeah, and I'll back that up by when we first see Dev Patel and his family is there, and they're celebrating with champagne because he's going off to have this career. And Mom won't let the fourth place being taken away.
Yep.
And Dev's like, he's like,
he's not coming.
And you honestly think he is. And then you cut to the next scene where he and his brother have that conversation where the brother was like, why do you think I don't come to these things?
Yes.
Those two scenes back to back give you everything you need to know about that relationship and that family dynamic. So everything after does play with that as a dynamic.
Yes.
That was handled beautifully. We needed a lot more of that.
I agree completely. Yes.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so let's talk about some things I think it did well.
Okay.
So, first of all, little boy Saru was the cutest damn thing I ever saw, and his vulnerability and his sweetness, you just wanted to wrap him up and take him home.
Yeah.
He was so good, and whoever cast that kid was amazing. And I noticed, and it had to have been on purpose, but you see at the beginning when he was like mimicking with the spoon and eating the soup, and that is what caused somebody to come out of the restaurant and take him to child services. So like that started him on his journey, that like mimicking kind of thing. And then if you notice adult Dev Patel, the first night when he's walking home across the street from, is it Lucy or
Mara?
Rooney.
Mara Rooney.
Yeah, whoever she is, basically who's going to be his girlfriend. He's mimicking her kind of as they're walking side by side on the sidewalk. And so it's like the good things in his life are because he is observant and he's kind of doing that mimicry. He's not actually he's not being himself, he's being what he thinks he should be.
Yeah.
And so I thought it's performative, perfect word. I thought that was just really interesting.
The movie does handle certain scenes like that, and in full-on props to Dev. He in this movie shows that he is far underrated, and I don't think gets a lot of the credit that he deserves for the depth and range that he has, because he doesn't have a lot to work with in this at all. The scenes where he and Nicole play off each other are some of the strongest scenes in the entire film. Because I've heard interviews with the two of them where they really trusted each other, and they both were giving and listening and doing all the things that a good actor's supposed to do. So those are the strongest things, even with material that wasn't all that great.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Dev Patel is one of my kind of favorite underrated actors right now.
No, so it doesn't hurt that he's a good looking dude.
He's very, very handsome. Yes, I may have possibly noticed that. This is possible.
One of the things, I just have a lot of negatives, so I apologize.
Okay. Yeah, no.
The relationship between he and his girlfriend, I didn't really buy. It's not developed well enough for me. She's there for him, or she keeps repeating that she's there for him. But the first time she meets the parents, they're in an argument at the dinner table. He has issues, obviously, but we don't really understand what those issues are until later. So their relationship is problematic, and we don't really understand why.
See, I actually thought that was fairly realistic. I thought it was kind of like the first time you bring somebody new home, and there's so many different dynamics, and she tries to jump in, which is the worst thing she could have done. So I thought it was just kind of a very immature relationship. It was
I'll buy that.
And not even necessarily immature, but more new relationship, and they were trying to figure each other out, and then he had so many things going on in his life. So I kind of liked it as it wasn't a deep relationship. It was somebody that you're dating,
Mm-hmm.
and they're being introduced to all of the shit in your life,
Yeah.
and that's hard sometimes.
Okay, I'll buy that, and in which case then I would question the necessity of it in such a complex emotional story. Why throw
Yeah.
something so shallow in?
Because you always gotta have a romance part. You do. And I haven't read the book, so she may have
More
played a
fleshed
much
out.
more important role in the book too.
Yeah, so I really don't have a lot except for the negative, and it's not, again, I love the concept, the idea, the story itself. I just think that in this example, it is an example of how to mishandle a story.
Yes.
Not understanding what the true story is that you're trying to tell and stick to it, trying to take on a little bit too much, making things too long, too short, making just the wrong choices.
Exactly, and it's too bad because cinematography, it was the beautiful cinematography at the beginning in India and the train, and when you really see and understand where he's coming from, it had so many positives that could have gone for it. It just on every roll went just a little bit too far.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, I'm good with that one.
I'm good with that one.
So let's then move to Hell or High Water.
Alrighty.
Because this I think is a good contrast to Lion. Hell or High Water, directed by David Mackenzie, written by Taylor Sheridan, of all the TV fame now, but he was
Yellowstone.
exactly
Inc.
what Lioness,
Yeah.
all of it. But he was a very strong screenwriter before the takeover of television that he has now done. This stars Jeff Bridges, Chris Pine, Ben Foster, always underrated, Gil Birmingham, a couple others, but those are the principal four. Was nominated for Best Picture, Supporting Actor for Bridges, Screenplay for Sheridan, and Film Editing. Did not win anything.
Gil Birmingham also wildly underrated, but he is
Yes.
now in the Yellowstone universe.
Yeah,
so
he's a Taylor Sheridan staple.
Yeah.
Wind River, he was in.
Loved that too, yeah. All right, so the summary is a divorced father and his ex-con brother plan a series of heists against the bank that is about to foreclose on their family ranch.
That's the bones.
Yep. So I've got a couple of things, one of which is obviously the name Hell or High Water. It's the phrase everybody uses. In legal circles, a hell or high water clause is an actual clause that is in a lot of contracts,
Okay.
especially leases and mortgages and other things like that, that basically says it doesn't matter what the hardship is, you must pay this.
Oh.
So a lot of like commercial leases think about hell or high water, meaning if you have a lease and you have a retail space, if your store goes under, you still have to pay the lease.
Got it.
So it's interesting that they did the kind
the
of
double,
play on
yeah.
that. And then obviously Taylor Sheridan loves to write himself into his movies. I have a love-hate relationship with him because I think he's wildly talented and an asshole. But he is the cowboy that goes up on the ridge with Jeff Bridges and gives him his gun. So he is in the movie.
I saw an interview with him once where he took to writing because he just wasn't getting acting parts, and he's
exactly.
just like, I'm just going to write myself in everything that I sell just
Yeah.
so I can get some experience.
And hey, more power to him.
Sure.
I totally understand that. And he is a very talented writer.
Yes, his strength is in the writing, not in acting necessarily.
There's that.
Okay. The reason I wanted to go Lion first is to show a bad example of pacing and the misunderstanding of what the story was.
Okay.
And then come to this one because I think this is an excellent example.
I'm so happy to hear this because when you said you wanted to talk about the two of these together, I was worried that you had the same reaction to both of them because I love this movie and I was going to be very sad if you didn't. Okay.
So that's how I wanted to start out with this one. This is the anti-Lion. This is a story that is perfectly paced. Every scene means something. Even the scenes that don't mean anything mean something.
Yes.
The throwaway scenes are still important. They're done as throwaway scenes, but they still have an intent.
They mean something.
Correct. It's tight. It knows what it wants. The pacing of this movie from start to finish is absolute perfection.
Yeah.
And all the fat is trimmed away. The performances are honed and refined to just reinforce what their scenes are. Essentially, this is two versions of like a bromance between two different people, the literal brothers and the police officers that work together. So you get a lot of depth and understanding of male dynamic through watching these two things happen. And they're both different, but they're also incredibly similar at the same time. So that's where I wanted to start, was this is the anti-lion.
No, I actually agree with that because I was going to talk about the pacing as well, and there's just moments of great tension, and then you relax a little bit, and then ratchets it up, and I love the way it continues to do that. The other thing that I will say is I just love the fact it is an old-fashioned Western, but it has that modern twist of the bank being the bad guy.
Yes.
So, like, it could be almost, what was the movie from last year, Shorts, or,
Short.
when they were shorting the banks?
Oh, The Big Short.
The Big Short. Like, it's almost the kind of what happened in The Big Short, and because of that, and what happened with their mom and the reverse mortgage and all of that they need to go after the banks. I love the bank as the bad guy because of a new way of banking. And so it's very modern, but it is very old-fashioned Western as well.
Yeah, and I like that you don't really get the motivation, again, until about halfway through the movie. You don't understand why they're out there robbing these banks. Then you come to realize over the course of the movie, one is doing it, but that's just justification. He just really enjoys doing it, and the other's doing it because he does believe in the cause. He wants revenge. They need the money to be able to pay off their mom's thing. So the juxtaposition of the two of them and their rationale for doing it is the same, but their enjoyment of it is vastly different.
Exactly. And I also love to, it really goes against what your expectations are with regard to what's going to happen to the main characters in this. Because, like you said, there's two sets of romances, and it's not going to end well. So I was thinking anyway about it is like, okay, are the two bank robbers going to die? Is something going to happen to Jeff Bridges? I did not see it coming the first time I saw this, that Gil Billing, the secondary sheriff character died. Had no idea.
You get the sense of this being a nod and an homage to the old school Western pretty early on. Mm-hmm. And if you have any familiarity with old school Westerns, they always end in a shootout. So you are expecting...
somebody's going to die.
You're expecting it, you're trying to see the circumstance under which it's going to happen, and you're kind of playing that game in your head of like, is it going to be like an OK Corral shootout where they're literally across, how's it going to play out? And the way that it plays out, I absolutely agree, is completely unexpected because it comes out of nowhere.
Yes.
And you're just like, oh shit. You had seen the brother willing to go to these lengths prior.
Yep.
So you now had a suspicion of him, and then your suspicion is confirmed. But yes, I also like how he goes out. It's not in a blaze of glory.
Nope, he just basically gets shot and slumps over.
Yeah, because of very well shot. A very well played shot.
Which, by the way, you don't know that Jeff Bridges is as talented a sharpshooter as he is.
No.
Like, there's no conversation about that at all. You just know he's been a small town sheriff for many, many years, and he's about to retire.
And you're also kind of questioning, it's Jeff Bridges, so you like him, but you're also questioning the fact that you like him because he's kind of racist, but not. He's
totally racist. But he's not, because he loves the guy he's working with. He just loves to needle him.
Yes, and this is one of those presentations of racism where there's a big question mark. Not that it's not racist language and communication, but you wonder if it is genuinely racist thought.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna work on that one because I think the language wouldn't be there if the thought was not there.
Right. It can come across.
He can be a kind-hearted guy and still
a total bigot. Absolutely.
Yes.
And you start to question: is that coming from just a place of ignorance? Does he actually believe? Because when he makes a lot of those statements, once I started to pick up on it, I was paying very close attention. Most of the statements he makes are not statements; they're questions. Mm-hmm. So you then wonder: are you saying these horrible things because you're genuinely trying to understand prior behavior?
No, he's just trying to needle his coworker, and he's using racist language to do it.
But
he's doing it out of some weird
respect
love dynamic
and
respect, exactly.
But I
think he would not use that language with somebody he did not care about or respect.
True, and he also wouldn't do it with another white dude.
Yes, absolutely.
So, but that's
it's weird. Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of my point. Is the dynamic between them has all of these different layers and levels built into it, just like the dynamic between the two brothers has all of these levels and dynamics built into them. So nothing is incredibly straightforward, simple. which, you know, this is an exploration of the male interaction. And a lot of male interactions are very straightforward and very simple, but not all of them.
No, exactly. Can we talk a little bit about the ending?
Yeah.
So that scene was shot between Chris Pine and Jeff Bridges. It was Chris Pine's last day on set, and it was Jeff Bridges' first day on set.
Oh,
and
wow.
then they never worked together again because of their scheduling.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
They had to do it that way. I loved their scenes together. I thought they were. I think Chris Pine is underrated because if you can go
He's a pretty
toe to
boy.
toe, he is a pretty boy, I'll say it. But if you can go toe to toe with Jeff Bridges, who I think is a phenomenal actor in the way that he did, you got some chops.
Yeah, he has been undervalued because a lot of times, like, female actresses get this all the time. She's pretty, and that's the thing that carries her
Yeah.
through. He suffered from that, just the male version.
Yeah.
But he has proven in every movie that I've at least ever seen him in, even like bad rom-coms that he's been in, the man can fucking act. Absolutely.
He's considered one of the lesser Chris's, and I would say that he is the first Chris.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I would.
I think
like him
he's
the
a
best.
better actor than Hemsworth, for sure.
Oh yeah, Pratt. Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh yeah, no, he is. But yeah, we'll talk about that offline.
All right.
But I'll convince you. But yeah, he I think he definitely had some chops. I love that it was unresolved.
Yes.
And again, I loved in this case that ambiguous ending because they did it right.
And also, like, there's a certain transference of anger that happens.
Mhm.
Like, his, Chris Pine's character, I can't remember the brother's name, but he never hurt or killed anybody. It was his brother that
Right.
did that. It was his brother that shot Jeff Bridges' partner. And Jeff is very angry and upset by the loss
Yeah.
of that. And there's an anger transference because he was part of it. My anger, and I've
Yeah.
killed this other one. Now I'm going to be angry at you as opposed to let all of this go.
But it's not just because he was part of it, it was his idea.
Yeah.
And Jeff Bridges knew, like basically your brother was too dumb to think of this.
Yes.
And you thought of it, and it's your execution of the plan that got my partner killed,
Correct.
even though you didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Whereas Chris Pine, you pulled the trigger on my brother.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I love that was the standoff at the OK Corral moment, the two of them on the porch.
Yeah,
That was
yes.
beautifully done. And had the had the ex-wife driven up, not driven up, what would have happened?
Every line that was delivered, the tension gets ratcheted up. So you're absolutely
They had
correct. And I
guns
think
on each other.
that was an intentional thing to have happened because we as audience members, while he's there, also needed to understand that he was doing this for his children, that he didn't own the house, that like they
Yeah.
were getting everything, he was getting nothing.
Right.
That was an important character traits to understand and motivation to understand about him, and you wouldn't have had that if she hadn't driven up so that he could tell that aloud to Jeff Bridges. But you're right, it also did completely deflate the tension, not completely, but did bring the tension
In
back.
the moment, you
Yes.
know that it's still there, and it might play out later on down the road.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna show up at someone's house. Something I didn't ask at the top, of these 5 movies that we watched, have you seen them all before?
I had not, I didn't think that I had seen Hell or High Water. I'd seen all the others.
Right.
But it turns out once, like 5 minutes in, I was like, oh no, I totally remember.
Okay,
this
because
movie.
I thought you hadn't seen it before.
Yeah, I think I told you that I hadn't.
All right.
But 5 minutes in, I was like, no, I totally
Yeah.
remember this movie now.
And it definitely values on a rewatch. So this is the only one of the 5 we watched that I had seen before. And I've
Oh.
seen this a couple of times. All the rest were first time watches for me.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah. So interesting. But yes, I watched it when it came out in the theater. I've watched it probably one more time and then now.
Okay.
And I would watch it again. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Again, this is why I wanted to do this one second, and we'll touch on it with the remaining 2 movies as well. But this is the anti-Lion. Lion is how things just can go so horribly wrong if you don't know the story that you're telling and mishandle the subject matter itself.
Mhm.
This is the entire opposite. When you know the story that you're telling and you know exactly what it is that you want to do and you get the pacing perfect, you can have a movie like this.
And also, let me say, a nice, tight, under 2 hours.
Yes.
That makes a difference.
And like, obviously Bridges, Pine were stars, but they're not like mega stars.
Right.
So you can have good quality people. They probably got them at a slight steal for the
Mhm.
budget of this movie. And then you bring in someone like Ben Foster,
Yeah.
who's always criminally underrated in everything he's ever
Yeah.
in. where you can have such quality acting, and I'm sure probably a far lower paycheck than.
Yeah.
They could have brought in a Tom Cruise, not that he would have been good for this in any way, but they could have brought in a big
Yeah.
A-lister to make the movie make more money, but the movie itself would have suffered.
Well, and also, like, just the people that they chose, Katie Mixon, who played the first waitress that was kind of flirting with Chris Pine, sassy, you know, he kept calling her sassy. She's a sitcom actress.
Oh, okay.
She had her own sitcom for years on ABC. I love her, and I thought she was fantastic. And also the older waitress, she was like,
what don't you want?
You are having a steak, you're having a baked potato, what vegetable don't you want?
Yeah.
And like, she was fantastic, but they did great with the other character actors too.
Yep. I have nothing else.
Me either.
All right, let's move on to La La Land.
Alrighty.
La La Land, written and directed by Damien Chazelle, stars Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, John Legend, Rosemary DeWitt. Was nominated for Best Picture. Nope, that's the wrong one. I'm going to go with that. There we go. Was nominated for pretty much everything it can be. Best Picture, Director, Actor for Gosling, Actors for Stone, Screenplay, Cinematography, Costume Design, Film Editing, Original Score, Original Song, Production Design, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing. It won for Production Design, Original Song, which is Audition. That's the name of it. Best Original Score, Cinematography. Emma got her first Actress Award, and Damien got the nod for Director. Did not win Best Picture though, but we'll get to the famous.
Oh yeah. This is the La La Land Moonlight
Yes.
Oscars. All right, so the summary is: when Sebastian, a pianist, and Mia, an actress, follow their passion and achieve success in their respective fields, they find themselves torn between their love for each other and their careers. When they are walking around the studio lot and see a couple doing a romantic scene. Oh wait, nope, that's it. And their careers. Period.
Yeah, this one's kind of.
They don't talk about it being a musical. They don't talk about like the fantasy elements. I don't think it's a good summary.
No.
All right, so fun facts. I put it in the wrong space. That's why I started to read. When they're walking around the studio lot, they see a couple doing a romantic scene. You remember that?
Yeah.
That's their body doubles. That's doing
really?
the romantic scene.
That's cool.
And then the only other fun fact I had was the tip about amplifying a car fob by putting it against your head. It's true.
Oh.
It will actually, because apparently it amplifies with water, and there is so much water in your brain and head that it actually amplifies.
I was wondering if it was like skull space that would give it more of an echo.
It's the water.
Gotcha.
So there you go. Who knew?
Okay. I will start out. I'm going to have probably more general kind of comments
All
about
right.
this one, but I like this movie. The first time I saw it, I absolutely loved it. I think one of the issues with this movie is it's a movie of its time, and once you've seen it, there's no more mystery.
Okay.
And so a rewatch for me it's not as good. This is the third time I've seen it.
Mhm.
First time, I absolutely loved it. Second time was like 10 years later. And now watching it again for the third time, when you kind of know the story and you see how it's set up and you know what's happening, I think it loses a lot of the mystery of the story. And that kind of what's going to happen next is one of the fun things about this movie.
Okay.
For me.
Well, and again, this is the first time I saw it, so I really enjoyed watching this movie.
Right.
But I would say I'm surprised that that's an issue, because what happens next isn't that interesting to me as the execution of it.
Okay.
So, for instance, like the first scene in on the highway, and I really loved like everybody coming out of the cars, everybody, like different people, different body types, different, diversity, and everybody dancing and singing and stuff like that. At first I'm like, okay, this is really weird. And then I was like, oh, this is what they intended, and therefore it's really weird and fun and their vision, and I loved that. So I really enjoyed that piece of it. So again, for me, it's the execution of the different scenes, not necessarily, again, watching it now, 10 years after it came out, I knew they weren't going to end up together, so I wasn't spoiled for that.
Sure. It'll be interesting to see, years from now, if you get to a third watch, if you still have that same, because the emotion and the things that you're talking about is exactly how I felt when I watched it the first time.
Yeah.
So it'll just be interesting to see if we get there. You are correct that this movie knows exactly what it wanted to do.
Yes,
it told
and
the
did it.
story that it wanted to tell. It had the tone of exactly what it wanted to do. And the tone does shift.
Oh, absolutely.
And it
yes.
shifts often in this movie, and that's intentional. That's
Yes.
done with purpose. And tonally, this movie, you cannot pinpoint it as one thing or another, because of the complete tonal shifts that continually happen. But you buy it every time it does.
Yep.
This is an incredibly well put together movie, and I have nothing but love for the movie itself and the crafting of it and the performances, and I could gush about the movie. It's just once I know what's going to happen.
It doesn't stick with you.
Correct.
I just think that there's so many pieces to it that you might not catch in a first watch that would be interesting to see it in the second watch. The other thing is, I'm a stickler for genre, and this is a good example of this is a romance. This is not a romantic comedy.
Yes.
So, because it's very much, it's not a comedy, even though there are funny parts to it.
Yeah.
And so it's very much a romance between the two characters that takes a while to build,
Yes.
which I loved. And then you're in the romance, which is happy days, and then realism.
Yeah.
And even when they first start to get together, you wonder, or I wondered as an audience member, are they right together?
Yes.
Like, I never really felt like they had crackling chemistry. Like, the two actors and the characters, I thought, were wonderful and beautiful together. But then again, as they're building a relationship and they're moving in together and they're trying to support each other in their dreams and ambitions, they're not necessarily there together. They're for each other, and they have to break apart to get their actual dreams fulfilled.
And that you're absolutely correct. A lot of people, their first watch, don't pick up on that and don't question that. They buy into the romance because it's Ryan and Emma,
And they're adorable together.
yes.
Yeah.
But you're right. The movie puts in these things early enough on that when the fallout happens and they do end up leaving together. It does feel real, it does make sense,
Yeah.
and you do recognize the why of it. Is it because they don't love or care for each other? No. The ending scene shows us how much they love and care for each other.
Which was wonderful, yeah.
But they recognize that they can't do what they want with the other person.
Exactly.
And that's the point.
Yeah, and that's the point, is exactly, it is sometimes love ain't enough,
Yes.
that is exactly what the point is. And I also, actually I'm gonna get to that in a second, but like one scene in particular that I enjoyed so much, and I know people talk about it, is the bench scene.
Yeah.
Of them just sitting, and again, just like the very subtle, this is almost like a Fosse choreography. It's not his moves, but it is the very deliberate, my ankle is moving, like small little bits of your body that are just moving a little bit, and then they dance together, and I thought that it was really, really well done. I loved all of the ode to Hollywood that was everywhere. Ingrid Bergman, and then also everywhere they were walking, there was graffiti on the walls and portraits and pictures and all of this. Even the dresses that she was wearing was very vintage Hollywood.
Yeah.
The color, we had recently just saw Rebel Without a Cause, and I know that it has kind of an homage to Rebel Without a Cause, but for me it was the colors of it and the cinemascope. And if you noticed, there was fuzziness around the corners because in some of the big scenes, not everything, but in some of the big scenes when they were doing big musical scenes, it showed it like it was being on a rounded screen. So it was true cinemascope, which, on purpose. So I loved all of those old touches to Hollywood. But more than that, it was grounded in a real relationship of these are two people who are not necessarily compatible, but love each other and are not going to be their best selves together.
The thing that I thought the movie, and this is just Damien, he does this incredibly well. I don't know if you ever saw Babylon, the latest film.
Oh yeah. I hated Babylon.
Yeah, a lot of people did. It got panned really bad. But this movie has absolute moments of grounded realism. But then you have those big musical numbers, which are more emotional realism. This is how we're feeling, and we're expressing it through these big, glorious dance numbers.
Yep.
So the balance that the film can do of emotional realism grounded in actual daily life, and then your next scene is emotional realism displayed through true feeling, is handled so incredibly well.
Exactly. I want to talk a little bit about the ending.
Sure.
So the moment of them, so it goes through, okay, if things had happened a little bit differently, they would have ended up together. Is that something that, in your opinion, is it something that the director kind of gave the audience, or is that in the minds of the two actors, or the characters? Are they sitting there looking at each other thinking, if things had gone differently, we would have ended up together? Is that kind of playing in their brain, or is it just a movie effect for the audience?
No, I think because you've seen it all the way throughout the movie. again, this is how I feel about you,
Yes.
I'm going to express it. I think it is the two of them having the same thought of if things were different, this would have been our
That's what I think
life.
as well.
So yeah, I think it's the latter. I don't think it was just and here's your happy ending.
Yes, yeah, which you didn't get.
Right.
But, and again, I love acting without dialogue, and the two of them, they're just kind of staring at each other, and then the very minimal Mona Lisa smile they kind of gave each other as you knew that they were, again, sharing that love and wishing each other well and having that moment. And I thought it was beautifully done.
And acknowledging the moment and that it was a moment. Because so
Yes.
often, when you have these moments in movies, it's from one person's side, or there's not an acknowledgement of that this was a nice moment that was being shared, unless it's we just shared a moment, over the top. It was handled with tender, loving care, and it was a nice moment that we all got to witness, but recognizing, of course, it's a moment.
It is a moment, and also, having the sign with the design that she put on,
Yes.
renaming it and
Yeah.
calling it Seb's, shows that she had an impact on his life, and she had an impact on his success in the same way that him driving to her home and making her go to that audition had a impact on her success. So they were necessary to launch each other's dreams, but they just couldn't be a part of each other's dreams.
Yep.
So I thought the movie did what it wanted to do, did it incredibly successfully, and it was good fun.
Yes, I firmly agree.
Alrighty.
All right, nothing else.
I have nothing else.
Moonlight. I don't know why I said it like that. It was all super dramatic.
I don't know. Well, it's super dramatic.
It is super dramatic. Moonlight, written and directed by Barry Jenkins, based on Torrell Alvin Craney's unpublished semi-autobiographical play In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue. It stars Trevante Rhodes, Andre Holland, Janelle Monáe in her first film appearance,
Oh, I didn't know
Ashton
that.
Sanders, Jerome Jerome in his feature film debut, Naomi Harris, and Mahershala Ali. Nominated for Best Picture, Director, Supporting Actor for Ali, Supporting Actress for Naomi Harris, Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, Film Editing, Original Score. It won for Adapted Screenplay, Supporting Actor for Ali, and then did win Best Picture. Go with some stuff and feel free to tell about the misrepresentation at the Oscars.
Oh, I will do that. Okay, so the summary is a young African-American man grapples with his identity and sexuality while experiencing the everyday struggles of childhood, adolescence, and burgeoning adulthood.
That's kind of inaccurate.
It's very minimal. That's so generic. It could be any coming-of-age story.
Yeah, and I don't know. The movie is handled far better than that tagline suggests.
Yes, I agree with that. So a couple of fun facts, and I will get into the funnest of fun facts, but Barry Jenkins did not want the three actors who played Sharon to meet.
I heard of that.
So same with the actress who played Kevin. He didn't want those guys to meet either,
okay.
which I thought was interesting. And the actor who came to play the adult Sharon actually came in to read for Kevin. And apparently the casting directors or whoever was running the audition, one of them wrote, not Kevin Black, and handed it to the other person, and they're like, yep. And that was how he got the role.
Wow.
And I thought that was really interesting. So the funnest fact is anybody who watched the awards, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway gave out the Best Picture award this year. And Warren Beatty kind of read the envelope and saw La La Land in the tagline, but it was because he was handed Emma Stone's envelope. They apparently have double envelopes for every, in case something goes wrong.
Sure.
They have double envelopes for every award, and instead of being handed the Best Picture, they were handed the second Best Actress, which had just been given out. That was the prior award. So he knows something is wrong because it says Emma Stone in La La Land, and so he shows it to Faye Dunaway, and Faye thinks he's doing a bit, and she's like, yes, La La Land, and reads it. And then the La La Land crew comes up and they read it and realize they did not win.
Yeah.
And so somebody runs out from the wings with the actual thing, and it's Moonlight that won Best Picture. And so it was a moment. It was quite a moment. I remember
It was
I was texting with some friends at the time because it was very late and we were all watching. And Jimmy Kimmel talks about it because he was the host of the Oscars, and he's like, I was sitting in the audience at that point because like my hosting duties are over. I don't have to do anything else. And then everyone starts looking at him like, go do something. He's like, shit, I gotta get up on stage and do something. So it was quite a moment, but Moonlight won Best Picture that year.
Yep. All right.
Bring it home.
Moonlight to me is another example of a movie that takes on and tells the story that it exactly wants to tell and does make it interesting enough to keep you engaged. That said, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. This is the second time I've seen it. I enjoy it. It is so well crafted. The performances are subtle, and I'm going to go into some very specific details of things that I think this movie does incredibly well.
Yeah.
It is just a difficult movie. It is not, you're not on the edge of your seats. There are moments that are tense. It's done incredibly well, but it's just not engaging for me, a 50-something white dude.
And that's fair. I think also that this is a beautiful movie. I have a lot of things that are very positive about it. I think the thing where I did not necessarily connect with this particular movie is its subtlety.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about, we like those subtle performances. We don't want the capital A acting. But this one almost goes back too much. It's just a little bit too subtle. I never really understand Sharon in the way that I want to. I don't understand who he is, even though maybe it's through the performances, maybe it's the dialogue, I don't know what, but I see his life, but I don't know who he is. Maybe he doesn't know who he is, and that's why. I will say I love the structure of the movie. I love the 3 parts, and also he has 3 different names.
Yeah.
He is Little, he is Sharon, he is Black. Like he is 3 different people over the course of this movie, which I think they really do beautifully, and the actors look like the person has aged. I was not taken out at all. Especially the teenage and adult Kevin. I wasn't taken out at all. Like that could have been the same guy. I want to hear what you think were positives, but again, it just didn't resonate with me in the way I wanted it to, which could very well be, there's so much about that I don't understand.
I think the being told in 3 parts, the structure of the film, I think is both a strength and a weakness. I think any of those parts could have been expanded almost into like a full length. This movie I think would have been amazing if they had almost turned it into like a 6-part HBO miniseries.
Okay.
Where each of those sections you get a little bit more, or it could have completely ruined the overall feeling. And that's why I say the structure I think is both a strength and a detraction from the film, and I don't know which way to go. Do you tighten it up a little bit more, or do you expand and give a little bit more of the background? Because at its core, this movie tackles a lot.
Oh, it absolutely does, yeah.
So I think there's room for some explanation, but it is a tight movie. Like the things that are done, the subtlety that is presented, everything that is being told is just enough information for you to be able to move on to the next thing. And I like that a lot of the scenes that in different hands, not Barry Jenkins' hands, but somebody else, could have become very stereotypical.
Exactly, yes.
And it's not. At the end of the day, this is a story about a black man discovering what it is to be himself. So it's discovering identity. And it is a complete black film, for sure. But it doesn't necessarily feel outside of just a guy discovering their identity.
It's very accessible to the rest of us.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
So it handles both of those things incredibly well, in my estimation. It is both a black film and also a completely accessible film, which is ultimately what you kind of want films to be. You do want people to be able to step in and not have an experience that is so foreign that you're only portraying to just a particular audience. There are some things in the film that I think are wonderful and add layers and depth to the movie once you kind of see them. Being the former English major that I was, you look for things like themes, and water is a big one in this one.
Big time, yes.
Water is transition. You go from one place, you go to another place. The handling of role models in this having a drug dealer be a positive role model is not a choice most people would kind of think to make. But it is 100% correct. And it's understandable why he went down that path, because one of the very few people in his life who was positive, that's what they did.
And even just what he was wearing on his head, he was emulating that.
Yes.
Yeah, that man, yes.
The role models become a form of kindness for him, because if you think, particularly when he's a young kid, the other people, the other kids around him are constantly picking on him, constantly struggling with him for no reason. So,
because they're kids, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the things that they do are a little bit, they're more straight-laced than a lot of the other kids. They're not like out slinging drugs or anything. I think one is actually, you know, a football player, one's a basketball player. They're more straight-laced high school kids. He doesn't go down that path because they showed him no kindness. So there are things that you can kind of pick up that make sense on the journey of discovery for him, based on each of the individual moments. I got a lot more to say, but go.
Well, no, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Mahershala Ali part in the beginning too, because you know that Little is starting to kind of question his sexuality, and that's kind of very, very obvious. And then he goes to him and asks, you know, like, what does the F word mean? And is that me? And his response was so beautiful. It's like, that is a word to make gay people feel bad about themselves. And just like, he could have taken that another track. You might have expected that he would have taken that in a different, very negative way. And he didn't. He was very open. He was like, you will figure out who you are, and it's all good. And his girlfriend was the same way. And no wonder he gravitates towards that, because it's not just about in the kindness that he was given, but also that he was offered respect and peace. And he had no other peace in his life.
And it also made it countable, like particularly the girlfriend. She absolutely, she's there for him, she supports him, she gives him love, but she's like, you're making your own bed. And if you don't know how, I'll show you. But if you're going to do this, there are rules. And you have to.
Her. She is great. I have loved her in everything she's done since then.
There are two other things that I want to talk about. One, this movie shows, has great attention to their characters, and the characters are not caricatures. They are defined as who they are with all of their complexity. Like I said, in lesser hands, this would have been more, they could have become stereotyped. The drug dealer could have been like, yo, give me my money, or whatever the fuck. But they weren't that. It was established who they were, even throughout, even him at the end, as a drug dealer. You get all of that established, but there's still depth, complexity, emotion, all of that is still there.
Yeah. Well, basically he said to Kevin at the end, he's like, yeah, well, I got out of prison and this was the job that was available to me, and I was good at it, and I rose up. Like, he's talking about it like any other corporation, any other job that you have. I did well and kept getting promoted. It's just a different kind of promotion. And Juan is the same way at the very beginning. You know, he is dealing drugs, but there are clear rules around it. There's what he will sell and to who, and what he won't do and where he won't go.
And part of those rules that are developed later are because of what he saw, witnessed, and then asked questions about.
Yes.
That's the other thing, the last thing that I really want to talk about is that scene where he asks this person that he looks up to, if you sold drugs to my mother. And that conversation is incredibly well written, very, very beautifully portrayed on both parts. And I don't know how you felt after, but there's no real resolution. It is just honest conversation. I did, and I feel bad about it, but
should get him from somewhere. Yep, exactly. And I loved their relationship, and I thought it was really well done. And I was heartbroken in the second scenes to realize that he had died before that second group. I thought he was going to be in the movie more. Mahershala Ali was in the movie for 20 minutes tops. You know, like. And he won a well-deserved Oscar. Yeah,
and he's probably the most memorable performance in the entire thing for me.
I think the mother was very, very good as well. So
she was, but I struggled with a little bit.
It's a little on the balance of stereotypical.
Yes. She was the only one. I don't think it is, but it's the closest to stereotyping a crack addict.
Yes.
That So it's the closest.
I would agree, but I think that she was able to pull it off.
Yeah, great actress. She did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
It's just very close to being stereotypical.
Yeah, I think where she was able to pull out of it for me was the very honest conversation they had during her recovery.
Yeah, when she was in the
I think that's what pulled it out for me as being stereotypical, because even when you see addicts in their recovery, like I didn't see that portrayed. I didn't see it portrayed as often outside of this movie as I did in this movie.
Yep.
In the same way.
So yeah, I again, knowing what you want to do and the fact that they pulled a lot of this back and was just like, this is a real presentation. It's a movie, obviously, but it felt real, it felt grounded. It did not feel like things were hyped or lessened in any way. It was just like, this is what it is.
Yep.
In lesser hands, this would have been a completely different movie.
Yep, I agree. I just have two other quick
Absolutely.
comments. One of them was about the language at the end between him and Kevin, talking about he has not let anyone touch him since then. So it was about intimacy and touch, less than sex. It was certainly, sexuality was a part of it, but it was really about that human connection that I think he had not had for so many years. And when you see them at the end too, it's not a sex scene, a makeout scene. It is them, kind of just holding each other, which I thought was incredibly beautiful. And then the only other one, you talked about the water and how meaningful that was. I would also say the colors.
Yeah.
The blues and grays and very muted color palette that we saw. That also, resonated throughout.
So speaking of the sexuality part of it, people have been asking, was he gay all along? Was he not gay all along? And I think that's the wrong question to ask. I don't think it matters.
Right.
What I think matters was early in his life, there were so many things and forces against him, working against him, trying to hurt him and damage him, that the very few things in his life that he was able to look up to that were supportive and loving for him. There was Mahershala Ali and the girlfriend, those two for sure. Mom he couldn't trust. And then the friend, who for no reason that we can really understand, except for the friend has always been there supporting him the entire time. And even as a kid, he was kind of questioning why. Like, everybody else picks on me. Why do you still with me? And that, of course, is the friend at the end. So,
but even so, he's the one that beat the shit out of him on orders.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
So for him in particular, sexuality becomes wrapped up so differently than it would be for a lot of other people that asking is he gay or not gay is just the wrong question.
I think he just shuts down that part of himself.
Yeah.
So I don't think, we may not know because he does not know.
Yep. And I don't know, I'm speaking as a straight man, I can't really speak to that. I'm just saying this is how the impression I got from the film and the depth that it was putting into that.
Yeah, and my comment stands is it's so much more about touch and intimacy and human contact than it is about sexuality being a part of that, but it's a smaller part.
Yes, I agree. I have nothing.
I have nothing else.
Okay. All right, so at this point, I would put 3 of these forward.
I would put 4 of them forward.
Okay, so
I would say it's a very strong slate.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so obviously we are putting Hell or High Water.
Yep.
And Arrival.
Yep.
And I think you would put forward La La Land.
No, I would put forward Moonlight.
Okay, and I would put forward Moonlight and La La Land. I would not put forward Lion.
And out of those 4, I'm happy to put those 4 forward for now. If we have to lose 2, I would fight very strongly to keep Arrival or Hell or High Water and lose the other 2.
Okay, I'm not ready to do that yet, but I agree that if I had to force rank right now, they're probably at the top.
Yeah, if when we do our part 2,
Yeah.
when we get down to 5, I'm just saying I'm going to fight for Arrival and Hell or High Water to be in the 5, and I would not fight as strongly for the other
And
2.
I agree with that, yes. But let's pull these forward to see if they make it to our 5.
All right. As always, let us know what you think. That was part 1, and we look forward to your commentary. Till next time. See ya.
Bye.